can I welcome Jamie to talk to us about how organising, which Laura's just been speaking about so eloquently, how organising and harnessing talent helped him to win.
Today's theme was stay, organise, hope and win. And with stay, we had what I thought was a brilliant panel with Emma and Gemma and Catherine talking about their journeys and the barriers. And I could see it on people's faces, the way they identified with it and thought, my God, yes, that is all of the things that I feel when I'm thinking about, you know, should I put myself forward, and their journeys. And the honesty and openness that they spoke about. We had that panel earlier with Jeremy and John and Clive about organising. And you know what I loved best about that? That it was a proper exchange of ideas. It wasn't platitudes. It wasn't navel gazing. It was, this is what we're facing. And that real honesty that this is really difficult. We're talking about changing the way our entire society is organised. You know what? It's not going to be a walk in the park. And Laura, as ever, given us real hope. And like everybody else, you know, I was gutted, still am. Laura's not there, but I know Laura, and she hasn't gone anywhere. She's still fighting. And I'm now going to give you a talk about winning, which is not going to be a big tub-thumping why we need to win. If you're still on this call after all this, you're here because you already want to win, and you know why we've got to win. This is about victory and defeat. It's about organising through people, because people is our movement. Our entire world is people. It's about people's lives. I spent about 20 odd years training people to fight, literally, as a martial arts instructor. And it's about empowerment, and it's about giving people their belief, not only the belief, but the skills. And how do you create an environment where people have a chance to develop their skills without getting them crushed early on? Jerry ran us through some of the talk socialism techniques that we were involved in developing right from the beginning. So I mean, it's just, you know, anyone who's raised kids, anybody who's, you know, got relatives, we all know that you have to give people space to grow into where they have confidence, and that involves learning and supporting from each other and having the freedom, basically, to fuck up without everybody else shouting at you, because that is part of building a movement. So just to put this in context, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the campaign that we ran in 2019. Put it in context, May's 2019's local elections were a disaster for Labour in the North East. Outside the north of Tyne, we lost Middlesbrough, Redcar, Cleveland, Darlington, and in total lost 57 of the 171 seats defended. That's exactly 1 in 3 seats lost. Lost Middlesbrough's mayor from 17,000 down to 7,000 votes. In the north of Tyne, we lost only 3 of 37 seats. And in Northumberland, where we were the only people campaigning, and there were 2 by-elections, we increased our majority in Cramlington, and in Bernard's old seat, sadly missed, that Les won with an increased majority. So how did we do that? Well, first thing we did, we had the benefit of open selection. Now, I've always been in favour of open selection for Labour candidates. The idea that you're going somewhere and it's a job for life is ridiculous. But that gave us a massive advantage because there was media interest, particularly there was massive interest around the party. Because of that, there was so much momentum, small m, going into it in terms of people getting engaged with it, that it gave us a real springboard. We built a massive team. Even during internal selection, we'd regularly have 30 people turning up to phone bank for me. And this was because of the trust that we'd built throughout the years running up to this. It was member-led. I declined Labour North's offers to run the campaign, and the team who'd won my internal selection with me, I asked them to continue to run the campaign. So the team did the specialist legal work, you know, all the signatures, that was done by Labour North. But the entire rest of it was done by a lot of the people on this call, which has now transformed into now Northern England Labour left. I got it like that. We had a really simple sign-off process. So tasks were divided up, clear strategies were agreed. And after that, I let the volunteers use their initiatives and their own skill, and I trusted them. And I said right at the start, I've authorised you to do something, and you make a mistake, I will own it. I give them freedom to act, and their energy and creativity shone through. My job was to be up front, scoring the goals, not tracking back to defence and worrying about wording on leaflets. So we engaged the entire team. We had one person whose job it was to liaise with new volunteers. That was it. So when people were welcomed in, they were welcomed with conversation, asked about their skills, so did they want to meet? Rather than, look, you meet there, there's a pile of leaflets, go stick them out, which is not a way to engage in treating you after. It's things like that, you know, inviting them to the pub. It's a simple thing, but it's so often missed about the social in socialism. And we had a massive WhatsApp group, and myself and the key organiser would frequently put updates in it so that people knew they were a part of it. We had the principle of one person, one job. Sometimes those jobs are quite big. Ian earlier was talking about his project management skills, so his job was to organise getting leaflets to the right place at the right time. The North of Tyne's massive. That's not difficult, not an easy job. But we have this principle that if that's and you've got time, do more of it. And that streamlines the organisation. And of course, we informed the whole of the membership. Every week I put out a 2-minute video saying what I was fighting for, what the manifesto was about community bank, about housing, about a green transport system, all of these things, so that people could articulate it. Because that's one of the things that we often miss, is we think sometimes as the party that if we understand the policies, then every other party member can articulate them. And it's not true. Giving them nice, simple 2-minute videos, when they're then talking to their mates or the granny or whoever else it is, well, that mayor bloke, what's he going to do? And then they can just repeat exactly what I said or their own subset of it that we're given in a video. And of course, we looked after the team. So what were the messages? Really clear messages. So there's a lot said about political message in 3 words, slogans, 5 key policies, all of this. Actually, there were 82 individual promises in that manifesto, but we condensed them into really simple messages. Not messages that were stay alert, control the virus kind of abstract, or, you know, for a better Britain or anything like that. What we said is, we'll build some houses, we're going to keep money here, we're going to create jobs. The things that people actually understood. We made sure that the candidate image was really strong. Not anything to do particularly with me, but we, you know, I've like everybody here, really complex lives, probably done lots of jobs, but it was just, we thought, well, look, let's just get a simple message out. I'm an engineer, which is true, and I've got kids. So these are things people can relate to. And if you haven't, there'll be lots of other things people can relate. But that's what we put out. We kept it simple. And we owned the politics, because that was all over. Yeah, oh, lefty mayor, socialist mayor, Venezuela mayor, what was, yeah, or the Momentum candidate and all the rest of it. And whenever anybody said that, I would say, yeah, I am a socialist. I do actually think we should organise our society more fair. And I do think we should be keeping money in our local communities and all of these things. And it makes it very hard to have a pop at you when you say, yeah, it's true, I agree with it. So that's the approach you've got to take. One of the things I did was I did my homework. Going into being the North of Tyne mayor, I had no idea what that meant. Nor, apparently, did any of the other candidates. The difference between me and them is I read all the documentation. And so when people were saying, are you going to do this, are you going to do that, I got to talk to people about the plans, and we sound authoritative. You know, there is a strand of people who vote for competence. And if you can say, this is how it works, you pick up those votes. We kept it positive. We didn't respond to personal attacks by getting into a wrestle with a chimney sweep. We responded with class. And early on, the Tories started doing that. You know, we would respond back, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. You know, I'm sorry to see you stooping to this level, but I really think that people deserve a mayor who doesn't engage in playground name calling. And that was brilliant, because then the other candidates would pile on the candidate who was doing that, and we could step back and leave them to duke it out. It was very effective. There was a whole range of things we did about getting our message out, but we also involved the on-the-ground stuff with that brilliant Green New Deal event in the Discovery Museum in Newcastle. We engaged with all the communities and went around to you know, all of the mosques, food banks, community forums, art centres. We held manifesto events, all of these things. we did the really authentic social media. Do you remember the Tory election campaign when Rory the Tory was doing this, you know, I'm here now doing these things? Well, we'd started doing that, so I think I'm going to sue him. We'll take the credit for it. And of course, we took the debates. So, is this a massive magic recipe for victory in the 2024 general election? No, it's not. Of course, it's not. That'll be fought on a different basis. What it is, though, is it shows us what can happen when you organise people and when you trust people. And it's about creating the space. It's about making sure the support. One of the things that perhaps a lot of people don't know is that the key members of the team, both mental health professionals. And so we had a support system where if people were struggling, one of them would actually give people some support. I'm not going to embarrass people by saying it, but I think everybody knows who they are. And it's about looking after people. It's about giving them that freedom. So this has led to the situation where we have the socialists, not just in office, but actually in power. Now, it's not a great deal of power. It's nothing like the power you have when you control Parliament. You know, we don't have the ability to make laws. We don't have the ability to borrow at base rate or create money. But in that time, we've done so much. We've created jobs, the jobs that people need. Already brought 1,000 jobs, and there's about another 2,000 in the pipeline at the moment. So badly needed given what's going on with coronavirus. We've launched our climate change teachers program. We've become a real living wage employer. We have a zero gender pay gap. We've started doing things with kids. We've set up returnships programs for people being out of work caring for loved ones. The work in home programs, so that people who are struggling to pay their rent, they're getting support in a supportive way rather than the DWP kind of sanctions approach. So it respects people's dignity. We've funded a youth and sports centre, leveraging Newcastle United's brand through the foundation, not through the club, but it's independent of the club, to give engage youngsters from disadvantaged backgrounds with an outreach programme. And a massive thing is our Green New Deal. So 24 million into that, producing jobs in the offshore sector. So much there. The thing to take away from it, though, is if we're serious about democracy, then we have to extend that all the way through. So that means things like open selection. It means, though, also following the energy and getting people involved in the way they want to be involved. It means being exothermic. For those of you who remember your O-level or GCSE chemistry, there's endothermic reactions, the one that take loads of energy to get going. Or there's the exothermic ones that once you start them, they create their own energy. And that's what our movement has to be. And that comes from little victories, building up to big victories. Little victories are just getting your message, but doing things, doing it well. It's about empowering our members to influence. Because networks beat hierarchies every time. We've just heard Jeremy, John and Clive talking about the sclerosis of bureaucracies and how difficult it means. If we have a Labour Party that just says, you know what, we've all agreed that this is the manifesto, now you go and sell it whichever way you want, we would see so much more activity than people saying, you can't do that, you must check this message, because that just takes away anything. But that's the way we run the campaign. It's the way we should run all campaigns. We should trust people. And I really think that building through municipal socialism will be the springboard for a socialist Labour government. When you're able to say, look, this is what the left can do in power with very little money and very little power. You can do these things that make a real difference to people's lives. That's so much more powerful than getting into abstract arguments about, you know, what will happen. You can say, look, this is it. When the left are in power, they're really competent and they work really hard and they deliver on the promises. That still depends on everybody being involved. You know, so we're still part of this movement. We've still got our Citizens' Assembly. That's the basis of democratic socialism involves socialism and putting the democracy right both up there.
My friend Dan posted an Albert Camus quote on Facebook about a week ago, and it stuck in my mind because it spoke to me about what Nell represents. It reads, "Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend. That way we rebuild." Thank you all very much for coming along and for listening.